So I've been a curator at the museum since 2004, and after undergoing a massive renovation, we had to reinstall all the exhibits, but the building was not intended to ever be a museum. It was an old pump house. The rooms are small, and they're very difficult to keep the artifacts away from any kind of hands, be they big or small. So we had to find a way to tell people what they could touch and what they couldn't touch. And we did have things that we wanted them to interact with. We did have aspects that they could touch, but we had other things that they really probably shouldn't touch. Some of our artifacts, like the one on the left here, is very fragile. We didn't want them touching it, but we couldn't put it behind glass because of fiscal reasons and because of size. So we ended up with a challenge, and we couldn't afford stanchions, we didn't have a lot of floor space, we didn't have a big budget. So we were left with a problem of telling people what they couldn't and couldn't touch. We came up with this idea, on very short notice I might add. The idea is really simple. Green means go, red means stop. Green means you can touch it, red means you can't. We kind of decided to drop the red hand because it seemed kind of negative. We didn't want people getting the idea, you know, duck, 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 duck. So we dropped the red hand and went with the green hand. The idea is really simple. The green hand goes on anything they can interact with it, being something they can touch, is it a question they can answer, is it something to think about. They can go directly into the text panel, they can be text panels by themselves, or they can be a combination of both. The green hand tells them exactly what they can do with it. We didn't limit this to just children's activities, so we did it on every interactive, which is why the graphic itself is not childish. It's intended for everyone. Some of our worst offenders when it comes to touching are over the age of 18. So when people come into the building, they're told about the program and what the green hand means, given a little introduction, and they're really excited and surprised. They're like, oh wow, we can touch something? We didn't know we could do that. And they're really excited about that. And it gives them a really positive attitude before they even get into our exhibit spaces, and it's really exciting to see. We have had exactly the results we wanted. We've had less touching, less damage. People are really paying attention to the green hands because, of course, they realize the flip side that if it doesn't have a green hand, you're not supposed to touch it. Everything has worked out well. We did have some interesting other results come out of the program that we hadn't anticipated when we first set it up, mainly because we hadn't thought about it long enough to think about these. Kids are really finding it empowering. They're coming in and they can get off their parents' leash. Mom and dad don't have to stand over them the entire time because they know what they can touch and what they can't. And so the kids are coming in. A lot of our kids are kind of staying, you know, they're leaving their parents a little bit, and they are creating their own safe play zones without having a separate space like some of the larger exhibitions do. A lot of our kids come in with daycares and school groups for the first time, and it's interesting because some of them are actually bringing their younger siblings back by themselves. We're in a small town, and sometimes the kids are just told to go out and play, and they come to the museum to play. They're also bringing their parents and their grandparents back, and they're giving the tour of the museum, which gives them an entirely different sense of the museum. It gives them some ownership of the experience while they're there, and the parents have an absolute riot. They're also known to telling their parents, Mommy, you can't touch that, it doesn't have a green hand. So we have had an interesting side effect with this. We do have a lot of low-income families in the area, and we have had kids come into the museum as a safe place. A place that they know they can come and they're safe, they don't have to worry about being in a place that they shouldn't be, and that's been really gratifying. It's also had a positive impact on our adult visitors. They really enjoy being able to touch and know that it's meant for them. It's not necessarily meant for kids, and they can even play with the kids' stuff. The other aspect is kids aren't necessarily attached to their parents. So they get to have experiences like this. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. A bunch of adults trying to do this rope game. It's like Twister on steroids. It's hilarious. So they get to have those experiences, not always with their kids, which is a different experience for them. And of course, we're always going to have someone who's going to touch, be they an adult or a child. And the adults, we have to tell them not to touch, but it makes it much easier for the children because mom and dad can say, Johnny, let's find the green hand because we can touch those. It redirects their attention without becoming a negative experience. They can turn it into a positive experience. And we've tried to include interactives in most of the aspects of our building. Everything here in green has an interactive component attached to it. But that has created one side effect. Some of the kids go to nothing with the green hands. They just want from green hand to green hand to green hand. Most of the time, the parents bring them back in, give them an additional experience beyond that. The great thing about the program is it is expandable. If you have a village or outbuildings, that kind of thing, you can put your green hand on an interactive or an aspect that they can interact with when you don't have interpreters there, and it just gives them a little bit more of an experience while they're in there. This is a picture from Great Groups up in Sound. And you don't have to use a green hand. That was thought up really last minute. If you've got a mascot, put some kind of green shirt on them. If you're a living history or some kind of outdoor ed center, you can have a green hedgehog. I just pulled this off the computer. The idea is you can modify it to your own facility. You can also use it outside of your facility. People pick up on this really quickly. This is the Sitting Pretty exhibit from Wealth. We put a few interactive components into it. We put our green hands on. People pick up really quickly. So it's really easy to use. And I guess basically what this program has shown to us is that ideas that are really simple, really cheap to implement, this basically costs us nothing, can be really functional and change the entire experience of your building, both for yourself and for your visitors of all ages. This has affected all of our demographics right across the board. So it's been a really fantastic experience, and I hope you can take it with you and use it in your facilities if you feel the need. Thank you.